Okay, in this video I'm going to head up into the ceiling cavity of my house. I'm just hoping I can fit through that tiny little hole.
Warning. The warning on this video has been removed and this video is highly educational.
Okay, I've got the ladder in position. I've also got a headlamp on because I'm going to need light up there. And this is where I'm either going to be successful in finding more leaks in the roof by looking through the other side, or I'm going to fall through the ceiling. It's going to be one or two things. I'll probably have some insulation pop down on me as I open this up. Ooh, kooky. Okay, welcome to the roof cavity of my house. What looks like snow on the bottom there is insulation. It was put in during a Prime Minister's realm in Australia called Kevin Rudd. It was like a free insulation thing to, well, basically save the planet. And, well, it didn't save the planet. Actually, a few people were killed in installation of insulation. We were told we were going to get pink bats, but what we got was this sort of fluffy paper. There was lots of scammers getting around in that period of time. It's funny now I've come up and look at this. It was a pretty rough job they've done, especially when I look at it, just piles of it over there. Like, they haven't really spread it out properly, and there's bits over there where it's sort of missing. Crikeys, welcome to Australia. And what I've come up here to look at is damage to the sarking. It's that silver material, and because we had a lot of rain penetrate the tiles, I also noticed that the sarking has also been heavily affected. In fact, there's whole patches of it where it's totally missing. Now, the trick to being up here is you can't go in areas like this where you go straight through the ceiling. You've got to stay up on the timbers, and it's a bit hard to see the timbers because of that insulation. One thing about being up here, it does have a bit of a damp smell. I'm not surprised because a lot of the moisture that came down through the tiles ended up in insulation. I really don't feel like it's dried out properly. Okay, this is what I want to see. This is curious. It's a piece of roof tile, okay, that's been struck by hail above and it's come down and landed in the ceiling cavity. I think there are other houses that basically the whole ceiling cavity was littered with pieces of tile like this. Maybe I'll find more of this, maybe I won't. Looks totally different when you see the tiles from underneath. Very, very different. And curiously, I can see something that I heard people talking about, and that is the wire. Sometimes I'll use wire between the tiles to hold the tiles on. There's actually like holes in the tiles, and this wire here gets woven through, but as you can see here, this wire is actually broken. Okay, the wire goes through there. There it is there, and there it is going up through a tile. Quite curious. I'll tell you what, this insulation job is rough as guts. There is just piles of it where you know, it could have been spread out more. They've done like a, well, in Australia we call it a half-assed effort. Okay, actually there's a cockroach there. Look at that there. It's been eaten by something. Oh, hope it's not a spidey. Now that area there was a section where there were some busted tiles. I can also see that the insulation on the ground there has got that damp look to it. Okay, so, well, the insulation doesn't look that bad to me, but what I don't like the fact of is the sarking there, that silver material with it got like a tar backing, has got these broken through areas. There's a bit of a look at the sarking there. Strange sort of stuff, tough. But also easily broken by the looks of it. It is a bit disorientating up here. It's very hard to tell what room I'm over. I believe that would be one of the bedrooms down there. And if I go that way, that's like going up, well, I think I'm over the hall of the house that runs up one side of the house. And up there would be the other bedrooms of the house, I think. The other sneaky thing that goes on is you may have a broken tile up here somewhere, and because of this material here, the sarking, the water will run down to where there's a gap, and then it will start dripping down, and then that will cause a problem on the ceiling on the other side. And it's funny, I thought I'd find some of the tiles that I repaired and see the back side of it, but I'm having trouble finding it. I'm seeing broken sarking here, but the water may have flowed down from, you know, up that way there somewhere, and it's come down through here. I can also see the tiles there have got the wire on them. Now I'm looking more closely at this insulation. It looks like it's just shredded up paper because I can see bits of printing and things. It's probably sensitive government documents they've shredded up and put up on the roofs. Remember, it's a federal government initiative to do all this rubbish. I'm just crawling across to one of the areas where there was quite a large intake of water. It's over there somewhere. There's another area where the sarking is busted through. I can also see that wire on the tile there. This is the area here. It's above the dining room. We had a lot of water come into well, the ceiling area and down the windows, and I can see right in the middle of the screen there, the insulation is different. It's been wet. I dare say it's probably still wet. It's a bit small for me to get in there. I'm a little bit large and I can't crawl into small spaces like that, and I can only assume the water has come down past the sarking there. I certainly know above that zone there's plenty of broken tiles. There's another troublesome spot there. Again, I can't quite see the screen. I've got my arms right out to try and get video there. Maybe that's going to tell me something. I'm pretty sure the discoloured insulation there, it's all damp, and one thing is for sure, up in the ceiling cavity here, it does smell damp. I'll tell you what, you're not going to believe this. I've actually found a redback spider up here. This is above a set of the kitchen cupboards, and I'll just move this timber across, and hopefully we will see the spider very carefully, of course. Okay, that there is an immature redback spider. It's got the right colourings, it's got the right shape, it's only small, and I'd love to see the other side of it. Maybe I can tease it and see the other side of that spider, and that's going to really confirm it. And I mean, that spider is seriously small. Okay, it's down there, and I was thinking maybe there's other spiders up here. Normally this is the realm of the huntsman spider, okay, because these are our kitchen cupboards. We've sort of stopped the huntsman in our house because we changed all the windows in our house, and I think I explained that in another video, although many people seem to have missed that video. I'm just looking around here looking for other spiders. Let me see if I can flip over this spider here. Okay, I'll try and get my hand in there. Maybe when we see the spider move, that's going to be more of an indication of what it is. I know the spider experts know all about these spiders. Okay, what do you reckon? Now I'm getting a better look at her. Absolutely confirmed that is a redback spider, but I can't get it to flip over and see the other side. It's definitely got that figure 8 red marking underneath there. Lovely find. I'm going to try and deal with the spider. I've got a torch here. I'll try and club it down on top of the kitchen cupboards in a sense. Its webs all through here. It's going to probably take off with all fury. If I'm fast, I'll be able to get her. Not sure if I got her or not. Great, black spider gone missing. I'm using a black torch. It's probably crawled up and about to bite me. I don't know where the thing's gone, but I know her web is all through here. Maybe I can see a splat mark on the bottom of that. Unfortunately, I can't. Maybe I'll just pretend I never saw that redback spider in here. We won't tell anyone, hey, that's the best thing to do. We'll just cover it back up. Nothing happened there. Interesting coming up here. I'm glad I came up here to take a look. I thought I'd find more leaks and water running down the sarking. At the moment, I can't see that. It is a cooler day. We'd only come up here on a cooler day. It is very dangerous up in the roof cavity on a warm day. You'll expire really fast. The insulation, a shocking job. Thank you, Mr. Kevin Rudd. And in Australia, we've had, 6 Prime Ministers in, 9 years? Something like that. It's just crazy. How do you explain that to people overseas? You can't. Finding the redback spider up here, curious. Okay, very curious. But maybe you can say to me, oh, but we've had redbacks in our ceilings as well. Well, now I can say I've had one as well. Absolutely certain that's a very immature redback spider. At least I didn't find Big Mother. I will try and get out of here without falling through the ceiling. And yeah, like I said, it's not really the sort of zone that I like to be in, but every now and then you've got to go and look in places you normally don't go. Wish me luck getting out. Yes, I did make it back to the manhole cover. I only just fit up here. And this is above the laundry, and I know this area had a lot of water come in. That's the light fitting there for the laundry. You can see the discoloration in the insulation there. Okay, it turned yellow. It looks like, well, something's had a little P in it. That's a letter P and nothing else, okay? Also up there. But what is curious, when you look at the sarking above this, the sarking looks to be in fairly good nick, so you might get a hole in the tile, but the damn water will run down to a totally different area. And just one last thing, yes, in Australia we have tiles, and underneath you have that material called sarking. I had an American friend build an American style house, and what you find in the USA is they will put plywood under the tile. So if I looked up onto the timbers of the roof here, there would be plywood there. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a good weather insulator and also, you know, temperature insulator. But with the sarking here, what happens over time, it tends to fail. It'd be very nice to see that American system brought into Australia. I certainly know my American friend who built the American-style house in Australia had to really fight for that American system to be installed here. Nobody knew about it. And just as I look at the manhole cover, although these days it'd be called the person hole cover because we've got to be gender-free, you can see where the water has affected that there. It was a leak in this area here. That was one that came up after those small cracks appeared in the tiles. And yeah, I can see that some of this insulation is also feeling a bit damp and grotty. But that area there, still feeling damp. So there you go. I won't forget my trophy piece that's tile there, and I won't forget to drag the person hole cover over the hole before I go. Yes, we live in a very, very different sort of world these days, and really being a middle-aged man is like, well, akin to being a criminal. So, finding that redback spider up in the ceiling cavity, well, there's a new one for the record books. I never expected to find that style of spider up there because normally these spiders like to be connected much closer to the ground. Where I live, it's been quite an interesting time considering the strange weather that we've had and the consequences of that strange weather. There's been all sorts of damage happen to cars, to houses, and to people's lives. There are some people who have totally lost the ability to live in their house. In a funny way, we're well off because we can still live in our house. There are quite a few homes that are condemned, and a lot of the time these houses had asbestos roofs, or they suffered so much water inundation that the ceilings had collapsed and it basically made the house unlivable. Everything in the house was destroyed by water damage. It was a really sinister storm, the one that hit us on the 20th of December 2018. The hailstorm started with hail, there was no rain preceding it, and it ramped up to being very large hail within a couple of minutes, and it lasted for a long time. Then there was a lull for about an hour, and then there was a rain depression that came in, and in a strange way, the rain depression did much of the damage to the homes that had been opened up by the hailstorm an hour earlier. I've got a lot of video of this whole event and what was happening in the suburb and the dynamic of what was going on. I'm yet to upload this up onto YouTube. And you must remember when this storm hit us, we had lost our internet connection because, well, the day before, a boy had decided to crash his car into the power pole directly outside our house, and that had taken out my internet connection for a number of weeks. Yes, all that calamity made for a very different style of Christmas holidays, I can tell you. I think if ever I tell these stories in video format, it'll be like a series of unfortunate events, and of course it starts with the boy into the power pole, and there's about 5 after that time. What I've learned in all this, oh man, I've learned lots, and I think when there's damage to your house, especially to parts that you normally don't look at, you've got to go and see it for yourself. I'm very glad I've become comfortable being on my roof, and I've crawled around and I've seen the damage up close. Don't believe what the insurance assessors tell you, okay? And when I started to look more carefully at my roof, and I started to see, okay, there's a hail impact there, and I started to see, well, I can see where the hail's hit, and then I started to really look at those areas, and I started to see more problems. That started to say to me, I need to have more people come and look at my roof. I need someone who knows about tiles to come and look at my roof. Of course, I made the video on YouTube, and there were tons of really interesting comments related to what they saw that I put up online. And thank you very much to the people who put input there, because part of me is thinking, oh, the assessor who saw my roof initially, well, he must know what he's looking at. But the fact is that, well, I don't really think he had my roof in his best interests. And I think you have to be very careful when you're dealing with insurance companies, extremely careful. And the comments that I was getting gave me confidence to basically pursue my problem further. Thank you again. It was wonderful seeing what was being said on the other video. I think there's an argument point about what constitutes a broken tile, and the insurance companies may say it like this: a broken tile is one which is in pieces and has obvious breaks. I could argue the point, well, a broken tile is also one which has a sign of heavy hail impact and has a very fine crack in it. To me, that's a broken tile, and I think that any tile that has signs of a heavy hail impact, even though it hasn't got a very fine crack in it, can be regarded also as a broken tile. Now, I think there are many people who've been served up patch repairs when in reality they need something far grander because, well, let's just say the insurance companies are doing the best they can, without being sarcastic. I'm finding myself in a bit of a situation where I've got two totally different opinions of what's happened to my roof. The first assessor, who was basically, well, masquerading as the insurance company,
is saying that the damage isn't too bad, whereas a second assessment by an independent person was saying the damage is major and basically my roof is a write-off, which is very similar to what people were saying to me online. And as crazy as this sounds, imagine being served up this as an idea that the hail has magically impacted on a tile and revealed previous damage that was there prior to the storm. Yes, silly things like that have been served up. And what I'm starting to work out and witness for myself is, and I was warned about this in the other video, is insurance companies will take your money in a flash when you pay a policy, but when it comes time for repairs and you need them to repair something for you and actually pay for something to be repaired, the money seems to be very, very tight. Yes, and in no way am I the only person who's been treated like that after the storm that we've had in our part of town. And while I'm having wonderful thoughts about insurance companies, do you remember the story about the Subaru which had the hail dents on the hood/bonnet? And one of the largest insurance companies in the world were claiming, well, they were claiming lots of things via their, and I'll have my fingers in the air, forensic expert. Boy, oh boy, has that developed. It developed in a pear shape for a couple of weeks and was looking very, very bad, but there has been a final development. We're yet to get to the very end of this story, and I'm really surprised that the media didn't pick up on the story because it is a classic David versus Goliath battle right up to the end. And it really comes down to the time frame of what happened after the storm versus the first picture that was taken of the car. I learned lots of things in seeing the way the insurance company was trying to manipulate what was going on with that car. It's a very, very sinister story, and there's a couple of things you can do to save yourself a whole ton of grief. And when we come back and revisit this story, and we will revisit this story, I'll explain to you what you've got to do when something happens to something that you may have insured, and it may become a complication later on down the road. I can tell you this, every time I pay an insurance policy, in the back of my mind, I'm always going to have the story of what happened to the family who owned this Subaru car and how the insurance company treated them in a very, very difficult time for the family. Okay, I'm going to finish off with a bit of a quiz here related to the damage to the hood/bonnet on the Subaru. It had, let's say, 150 hail dents on the car. I don't want to be exact here because we're not identifying this case. Most of those hail dents were on the bonnet/hood. How many hail dents do you think the fraud investigator had counted as being fraud? Now, the very peculiar part here is he's actually got two numbers. He's got definite fraud and he's got ones which are suspect. And I think for the fact he couldn't tell one from the other says much about his methods. So have a go. How many hail dents do you think were put on the car by the car owner, as was suggested by the fraud investigator? And I'll give you a clue. The combined number of fraudulent and suspected fraudulent hail dents, it's not a small number, it's quite a large number. And to give you a feel of the environment that you're working in to apply these hail dents, picture this, the hailstorm has just finished. You run inside, you grab a hammer, you run back outside to your car, which is on a public street, which is opposite a gym. You've got to work fast because of the photograph about to be taken of your car after the storm. There you are, whacking into your car with a hammer. You're applying lots of dents on the bonnet for some very strange reason, and you're also applying dents to the rear of the car and the top of the car. You haven't got much time. I hope you can get it done before that first photo is taken on the public street opposite the gym outside your house. How many dents can you smack into your own car without anybody seeing you applying them? That is the big question of this case, and that is how this fraud investigator got it oh so wrong. Please have a stab at that one. When we get to talk about this case again, it's going to blow your mind. Blow your mind totally.